The studio lights blazed, the crowd's cheers erupted, and the energy in the room was electric. Adam Levine, Maroon 5's charismatic frontman, strode onto the set of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, his grin wide and infectious. Fresh off a year-long hiatus after a personal crisis that had kept him out of the public eye, Adam was ready to reclaim his spotlight. The audience roared, their applause a warm embrace for a star they'd feared they might lose. But as Adam waved and soaked in their love, a subtle tension hung in the air. Something wasn't right, and the crowd could sense it. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Levine. Jimmy Fallon's introduction cut through the noise, his voice bright but laced with an edge that didn't match the usual warmth of his welcome. His smile was tight, his eyes flickering with something unreadable. Adam, ever the showman, bounded forward, high-fiving the band leader, Questlove, and flashing his signature charm. He settled into the guest chair, ready to entertain, to laugh, to give the people what they came for. But Jimmy had other plans. "Adam, man, great to have you back," Jimmy said, leaning forward, his tone cheerful but with a bite that prickled Adam's instincts. The audience, still buzzing, didn't catch it, but Adam did. "Great to be back, Jimmy," he replied, his voice smooth, warm, trying to set the tone. "This crowd is unreal tonight. Y'all are giving me all the feels." The audience cheered louder, feeding off his energy. Jimmy's grin twitched, almost imperceptibly. "Yeah, they're thrilled to see you, upright and breathing. There were some big questions about that for a while, huh?" The words landed like a subtle jab, wrapped in a chuckle that didn't reach his eyes. The crowd's laughter faltered, replaced by a ripple of unease. Adam's smile held, but his eyes sharpened. "Yeah, you know, life throws curveballs," he said, his tone steady. "I'm just grateful to be here, grateful for my family, my band, everyone who had my back." "Had your back through what, exactly?" Jimmy pressed, his voice taking on a reporter's edge, sharp and probing. "You've been pretty cagey about this whole thing. Some folks are saying you're playing the mystery card for attention." The audience shifted, sensing the shift from playful banter to something heavier. Adam straightened, his jaw tightening just enough for the cameras to catch. "Jimmy, I've shared what I'm ready to share," he said, his voice calm but firm. "My personal life, my family, that's private. I think people get that." "Do they, though?" Jimmy leaned closer, his eyes glinting with something sharp. "Social media's been ruthless. People are saying you staged this whole crisis to hype your new album and that voice comeback. Convenient timing, right?" The word hung like a challenge. The audience murmured, their excitement souring into tension. Adam's smile faded, his eyes narrowing as he leaned forward. "Convenient," he repeated, his voice low, laced with disbelief. "You think going through hell is convenient? You think scaring my wife, my kids, is convenient? What are you getting at, Jimmy?" "I'm just asking what the audience wants to know," Jimmy shot back, his tone sharper, more confrontational. "Isn't that what this is about?" Adam's laugh was short, bitter. This is a late-night show, man. People tune in to laugh, to have fun, to escape for a bit. What you're doing right now? This isn't fun. This is an ambush." The studio fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Even the Roots, the house band, exchanged uneasy glances, their instruments quiet. Jimmy didn't back down. "An ambush? Adam, these are fair questions. Your fans deserve answers. They were worried about you." Adam's composure wavered, his voice rising just enough to carry his frustration. "Answers? The truth is I almost lost everything. The truth is I spent months not knowing if I'd ever sing again, ever tour, ever hold my kids without them worrying I'd disappear. While I was fighting to get back, people like you were out there spinning rumors, chasing clicks with conspiracy theories." "People like me?" Jimmy's face flushed, his own temper flaring. "I've built this show on being real, on connecting with people. If you can't handle tough questions, maybe you shouldn't be out here doing press." Adam stood halfway out of his chair, his presence commanding the room. "Tough questions?" For what, Jimmy? For having a personal crisis? For needing time to heal? What exactly do you think I owe you? The tension was palpable, the studio air thick with unease. The camera operators hesitated, unsure whether to zoom in or pull back. Jimmy pressed on, his voice dripping with condescension. Maybe I should be asking what you owe everyone else. You vanish when things get rough, leave your band scrambling, your producers hanging, and now you're back like nothing happened. The audience gasped, several in the front row visibly stunned. Adam's eyes blazed, his voice steady but fierce. Leave my band scrambling? I was fighting for my life, Jimmy. Do you know what it's like to wake up and not recognize your own kids' faces for a moment? To have your wife crying because she's not sure you'll make it? I get that you had issues, Jimmy said, his tone patronizing, but you're a professional. People depend on you, your band, your crew, networks investing millions. Maybe you owe them more than silence. Adam stood fully now, towering over Jimmy, who stayed seated, gripping his desk. Silence? My team handled everything, contracts, updates, all of it. Everything was done right. But that wasn't enough for you, was it? You needed every detail of my pain for your monologue jokes. Sit down, Adam, Jimmy said, his voice tight, trying to regain control. You're blowing this out of proportion. Adam's laugh was raw, unfiltered. Out of proportion? You want out of proportion? It's waking up not knowing who you are. It's your kids asking if daddy's going to die. It's relearning how to function because your body's betrayed you. The audience was frozen, some wiping tears, others clutching their seats. Jimmy's face reddened, but he doubled down. And yet here you are, all good, pushing your new album, back on The Voice. Funny how fast you bounced back when there was money on the table. The silence was deafening. Questlove froze, his drumsticks hovering. Adam's eyes locked onto Jimmy's, and for a moment, it seemed he might snap. Instead, he took a deep breath, his voice low and cutting. You know what, Jimmy? I came here thinking we were cool. I thought we'd laugh, tell some stories, give these people a good time. But this isn't about that for you, is it? This is personal. Personal? Jimmy scoffed, but his voice wavered. I barely know you, Adam. This is about your fans, about being real. Adam shook his head, his expression one of disgust. Don't play that game, Jimmy. This is about that charity event 2 years ago. That comment I made about your sketches. You couldn't handle being called out, and you've been holding it against me ever since. The audience leaned forward, transfixed. This wasn't just an interview gone wrong, this was Hollywood's raw underbelly laid bare. Jimmy's composure cracked, his face flushing deeper. That's absurd. I don't even remember what you're talking about. Adam's smile was cold, knowing. Oh, you remember. You brought it up at the after-party, complained to 2 producers. Your writers have been slipping jabs about me into your bits for months. You thought tonight was your shot to settle the score. Jimmy's eyes widened, caught off guard. You're being paranoid, Adam. Not everything's about you. Adam stepped closer, his voice steady but relentless. Paranoid? Your own staff told my manager about the meeting you had last week. How you wanted to put Adam in his place. They were so uncomfortable they leaked it. You want to talk about being real? Let's talk about a host who uses his show to grind personal axes. The studio crackled with energy, the audience barely breathing. Phones were out, defying the no recording signs, capturing every second of this unscripted showdown. Jimmy stammered, That's out of context. Whatever you think you heard, Adam cut him off, his voice like steel. I know exactly what I heard. You said you wanted to make me sweat, called me a self-obsessed hack. Your words, Jimmy. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The camera operators scrambled, lenses locked on the 2 men. Jimmy's quick wit deserted him, his face a mask of panic. You're twisting everything. That's not what happened. Adam's gaze didn't waver. Then tell me what happened, Jimmy. Tell these people why you ambushed a guy who just clawed his way back from the worst year of his life. Tell them why you thought tonight was the night to tear me apart. Jimmy's mouth opened, but no words came. Questlove signaled the Roots, ready to force a commercial break, but the producers were frozen, unwilling to cut away from this historic moment. Adam filled the silence, his voice calm but searing. I'll tell you what happened. 2 years ago, I made a comment about your sketches bombing at that charity event. A light jab everyone else laughed off. But not you. You've been stewing on it, waiting for your chance to get even. That's not true, Jimmy said, his voice barely audible, but the denial rang hollow. Adam gestured to the audience, his presence commanding every inch of the stage. Look at these people, Jimmy. They came here to laugh, to feel good, to celebrate. Instead, you've turned this into your personal vendetta, airing your grudges at my expense and theirs. Several audience members nodded, some clapping softly, their faces a mix of awe and discomfort. Jimmy tried to rally, his voice shaky. I'm just doing my job, asking what people want to know. Adam's laugh was sharp, cutting. Your job? Your job is to entertain, to lift people up, not to drag them down over some petty slight. You're not a reporter tonight, Jimmy. You're just a guy with a mic, using it to hurt someone who made you feel small. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. Adam's voice softened, but the weight of it filled the room. I looked up to you, Jimmy. I watched your show, laughed at your bits, told people you were the real deal. I thought you used comedy to bring people together, not to tear them apart. Jimmy's face was scarlet, sweat beading under the studio lights. He looked like a man who'd misjudged his move and was now drowning in the fallout. Adam, let's take a break, Jimmy stammered, desperate to escape. Adam's voice cut through like a blade. No break, Jimmy. You wanted this on live TV, in front of all these people. We're finishing it. You don't get to start a fight and bail when it backfires. The audience leaned forward, some on the edge of their seats, the energy crackling. You want to talk about being real? Adam continued, his voice rising with purpose. It's owning when you've screwed up. It's admitting when you've hurt someone for no reason. It's being big enough to say sorry when you've gone too far. Jimmy's whisper was barely audible. I don't think I need to apologize for doing my job. Adam shook his head, stepping closer to the desk. Your job is to make people laugh, to give them a break from the world's mess. Not to add to it. Not to use your show as a weapon because someone bruised your ego. He turned to the audience, his voice softening, connecting. These people didn't come here to watch you settle a score. They came to laugh, to feel good, to celebrate me being back. And they deserve better than this. The crowd erupted in soft applause, growing louder as more joined in. Adam's words were hitting home, resonating with a room full of people who'd expected joy and got a battle instead. My job, he said, his voice steady, is to bring people together with music, to make them feel something, to give them a moment of escape. My job is to be grateful for every chance I get to do what I love. And I'm not letting your bitterness steal that from me. He took a slow sip of water, letting the silence stretch, then set the glass down with deliberate calm. I've been in this game a long time, Jimmy. I've seen people come and go. The ones who last? They lift others up. The ones who don't? They think cruelty is clever, that cutting someone down makes them look strong. Those people fade, Jimmy. People see through them. The studio was so quiet you could hear the hum of the lights. Jimmy sank into his chair, his polished persona in tatters. Adam straightened his jacket, his voice steady but laced with finality. I came here in good faith, ready to laugh, share stories, give these people a good time. I came as a friend. But you had other plans, didn't you? You thought you'd get your revenge for a comment I barely remember making. He started toward the stage's edge, then paused, turning back. Congratulations, Jimmy. You ambushed a guy trying to rebuild his life. You used your show as a weapon. You let down every person here who expected better. The audience erupted, applause swelling into a standing ovation. People were on their feet, clapping, some shouting support, their faces alight with admiration for Adam's grace under fire. Adam faced the crowd, his voice warm, resolute. To everyone here, everyone watching at home, this isn't what entertainment should be. This isn't kindness. This isn't using a platform responsibly. You deserve better. And I promise, every time I get the chance to perform for you, I'll give you something that lifts you up, not tears you down. Adam, wait. Jimmy called, standing now, his voice desperate. Don't walk out like this. We can fix this. Adam turned, his expression almost pitying. Jimmy, the only thing that needs fixing is whatever's broken inside you that made you think this was okay. That's not my job. That's yours. With that, Adam Levine walked off the stage, the audience's applause thundering in his wake. He fist-bumped Questlove, who whispered something supportive, and vanished into the wings. Jimmy stood alone behind his desk, his face a mask of shame and shock. The cameras lingered as he ran a hand through his hair, searching for words that wouldn't come. Questlove, sensing the chaos, signaled the Roots, who launched into an impromptu funk riff, playing Adam off with a flourish that celebrated his dignity. Jimmy sank back into his chair, looking into the camera. "We'll be right back," he managed, his voice hollow. The show cut to commercial, leaving the audience, both in the studio and at home, stunned by what they'd witnessed. Adam Levine had walked off that stage with his head high, his integrity unshaken, while Jimmy Fallon was left to face the wreckage of his own making, a stark reminder that personal grudges can unravel even the brightest of stars.